his parents are so disappointed in him for even being in choir, for doing all these feminine activities, that if he were to come out as being a female, to them, he'd get kicked out or abused.
So he was born a male.
He was born male.
And he's in like,
yes.
choir.
And they go
Singing.
by they, them pronouns because they want to be safe. And I'm only going to use he, they pronouns for them just so I don't say it wrong.
I didn't want to ask you about pronouns because in my mind, this is just me.
You're good.
I see, and there was actually, I've talked to a few people. I talked to a handful of people about doing this podcast. A couple people I know that have transgender children as well, and one person wanted me to ask about pronouns, and I said I'm not going to ask about pronouns because to me pronouns is different to me. This is just my thoughts. We're talking about transitioning and transgenderism. We're not. I'm not talking about. Is that not the correct term?
No, it's just I only hear that when people are trying to not be. I don't ever hear transgenders or transgendering or transgenders unless if someone's trying not to be offensive. And I just chuckled to myself. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we don't.
It's nothing against you. I promise. It's just that is just how.
What do you hear? That's like. What do you usually hear?
Well, I typically hear like, so are the transgenders real? Are those transgenders?
Oh, them transgenders?
Yeah.
It reminds me of a redneck.
Yeah. And I just kind of...
Them people over there.
Are they real right there?
Oh, God.
Yes, those are human beings.
You live in farm country, kid.
I know. You're welcome.
No, I want you to tell me. If I'm saying something wrong, please tell me.
No, I really don't mind. In all honesty...
It's not my intention, for sure.
I think you said transgendering people, and I was like, why are we inging the people? That doesn't even make plural sense. But it's okay. That's just my brain thinking about it. I really don't mind.
Okay.
But I can, though, tell you, if you ask someone who is in a sophomore grade of high school, and you're like, so how do you define transgenders? They'll look at you and go, why'd you call them transgenders? They are people. You're supposed to say transgender people. I don't think most trans people actually care.
Sounds like semantics to me, though.
It is semantics.
I think it's more plantics.
Yeah.
I think people are just a little stuck.
Unless someone's like yelling at you, saying bad stuff, you got to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, that's why I was chuckling. It wasn't nothing against you.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
like, oh, okay.
I just thought I'd ask
joke.
because I seen you had a puzzled look on your face.
We've had lots of conversations about pronouns and stuff and how so
There is.
And I know that Thurston, no, it's not Thurston. Yeah, Theron Meyer. I do not think that she has a pronoun other than she says I transitioned to a woman. Other than that, I don't have pronouns.
If we're going into the Theron Meyer thing, I have honestly...
I know you didn't know anything about it.
I didn't know anything about that until yesterday.
Yeah.
And her perspective of pronouns is from what I could read about, because she's no longer on the internet.
Why?
It was hard to find stuff on it. I looked, everything was 3 or 4 years old. There was nothing new.
Apparently, she dropped out of doing it because there was hate towards her, which I understand completely.
From the trans community?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That, honestly, how am I going to word this without getting hate on? I'm going to just get hate on and accept it. The transgender community and the LGBTQ community right now is very toxic.
There are parts, but I wouldn't say the whole thing, but yeah, I agree.
We have some very toxic parts, but I believe every thing does, but right now it is getting a little out of hand.
Well, back to that, what I asked when I asked you if you heard the Dave Chappelle episodes or his specials where he talks about transgenders. I think a lot of transgenders, and Dave Chappelle, he's a black, straight male, he's Muslim, and he has no problem with trans. And the way he puts a lot of those things are like, hey, We need to stop. Like, basically, he's saying what you're saying is like, there's a lot of problems that don't need to be there, and a lot of drama that doesn't need to be there. And until we can find a way to, to exist with each other in peace, and find a way to communicate and laugh with each other, at each other, with each other, we can't move forward.
That is real. I like that a lot, because in all honesty, we can't. Like, we are stuck right now. Like,
sure,
I believe we are stuck because everybody is so divided over everything. You can't control what people believe in. You can't control what people do with their lives. You can't. Why? What was the driving thing you told Grandma when you started to learn how to drive? I'm going to let them stay in their lane, and if they decide to come in my lane, I'm going to just let them keep doing what they're doing, but I can't control that.
No, yeah, you can't control the other drivers. You can only control what you do, but you still have to acknowledge and know that they're there. That's what I was doing with the driving thing, is like, you can look at them and say, I think that person's going to do this, but I'm going to keep myself safe. And I'm like, I see where you're going with it, but it's, yeah.
Yeah, if you flipped out every time somebody did something driving that you didn't like.
Every time someone cut you off or like rode your ass.
Or even did something you didn't like.
Yeah.
Had their car a funny way, slammed a car, a lowrider. I don't like that. Or
they
has
have a sticker.
Yeah, they have a sticker. Or, yeah.
That is what I feel like a lot of people are doing, is they are freaking out.
It's a good analogy.
Over the tiny little things.
Yeah.
And it is true for the people everywhere. I'm just going to say people, because it's true within our community. It's true within everything.
Yeah.
I'm seeing it at work. I'm seeing it in meetings. I'm seeing it everywhere I go. I feel like everybody's has their head a little bit up their butt, but I'm just going to say everybody does, because everybody's living in their own world.
Yeah.
I think that's part of it. Kind of on topic, off topic, but I think it's like, I think people with the way that we're isolated, but not isolated, like when you have the internet and then you're looking at one thing and then it has something telling you something that's similar, and then it goes down this rabbit hole. You don't even know you're going down that rabbit hole. And I think that that's happening to everybody on everything. And I would love to be able to get back to having conversations with people, like, not unlike this, but like where you're talking with someone, I don't necessarily believe in what you're saying, but I'd like to hear what you have to say. And I don't think we're getting to that anymore. I think that there's so much isolationism and so much, this is my party, this is my clan, this is my people, this is my other stuff. If you're not that way, I don't want to hear about it. I think we're so far down that rabbit hole that it just, well, to me it's infuriating, but it's like, because I like other opinions. I like going to other places. I like hearing other people's opinions, even if I don't agree. I like knowing that it's out there, because like maybe it'll change my mind on something. Maybe it'll open my mind to something else. Maybe I'll get to do something fun. But I think we're so stuck in these holes, and then the way that we are with the internet and everything else, and our groups and those type of things, you just keep going further down the hole. You keep further isolating yourself from other people. And then if someone in there, like, and you work your way towards that batshit crazy person and like, sorry Luke.
It's okay. I was thinking about like the GSA in middle school and how we were all slowly going towards gay people, only gay people, only gay people, only gay people, only gay people. And then COVID hit. And it felt like I watched all these people who I was like, because I was the president, I was the quote-unquote cult leader, I was helping us go straight down that rabbit hole. And I was thinking about watching all these people turn into these crazy, weird-looking people that I think are still very far in that rabbit hole, but they're like those weird outliers you see all the way out here from that.
Well, and I think just to like tap into back to the pronoun thing, like the first time Luke came to us, he's like, I don't think I'm a girl. I don't think I'm a boy. And like the whole conversation, and it turned out he wanted to go by the is, they, their stuff, which I looked at him and went, I will try my best, and I am going to mess this up. And when I do, you need to give me grace and know that I'm doing my best, and I'm going to keep trying to change that. And it's like, I'm so glad you got out of the is, they, their shit, because that was hard.
Yeah.
I'll go with he. He is easy.
At
she is
least
easy.
I didn't go down the neo pronoun
Yeah,
stuff.
let's not go down that way. But
Talking about
he
pronouns.
was identifying a certain way, and he was moving a certain way, and we were trying to be supportive. And it's like, we're not used to in our culture having more than a he and a she. And then you add an is and an and a they and a there and all these other stuff. It's hard. And I think that's where people want to announce themselves. Like, I don't feel the need to announce myself. But if someone comes up to me and feels the need to announce themselves so that I use the right pronoun for them, I'm fine with it. But
It may take me a minute to learn it.
yeah, especially if it's not something that matches what we consciously think of.
Right.
Like
We're looking for a name.
if I came up and I said, I want to go by there. I'm an is or they there. That would be really hard. Have you ever had a friend or someone that you know?
Zer.
Zer, like the other ones?
And then there's okay.
It's not easy. Like that one.
I want someone just to give me a name.
Yeah.
That me too.
What do you want me to call you?
Call
Let me
me
call you
Luke.
Boop, Bop,
Call you Lukey.
Luke, Chris,
Luke.
Jeremiah. I don't.
Yeah.
Whatever you want me to call you.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just want a name.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's wrong with that? You know, and then there's companies that are forcing people to put a pronoun in their LinkedIn and stuff like that. I'm like, what do you mean? They're forcing people?
Okay.
And then let me say something else. Then there's a list of accepted, approved pronouns, and I'm like, doesn't that contradict?
It contradicts.
It contradicts your pronouns. Me being able to have my pronoun, what I want to express myself as, but there's an approved list. Because I joked around when pronouns came out. I said, okay, my pronouns are this and that because I'm this and that. You know, I was just joking. And then I looked at the list and I said, this and that's not on. Now, those are demonstrative pronouns,
Yes.
but they're still pronouns. But they're not approved on the list. There's an approved list. I said, wait a minute. How can you have an approved list? There should be no list. It should be wide open.
I'm gonna kind of boggle your mind real quick.
Please.
Pronouns is cat and cat self on there.
Cat and cat self?
Yeah, those are pronouns.
But this and that's not?
Snail self. I've heard
Yeah.
that one.
Snail
Vamp
what?
and vamp self.
Snail and snail self.
Snail self.
Those are pronouns. I am gonna.
What'd you say the other one was?
Vamp and vamp self. Okay, any object. I could be water bottle and water bottle self.
But my this and that's not on there.
Apparently. In all honesty,
That's
if
not
you
cool.
want me to be real honest, I'm going to take the approved list with he, him, they, them, they, zer, it, it's, she, her, over the calling. I'm going to get in so much hate for this from people, but I really don't care. Over calling someone cat and cat self and vamp self, snail and snail self, because in my brain,
It makes more sense.
Yeah.
I don't. It's not that I don't understand it, because I had to do a lot of research on it as a president of a GSA, had to figure out how to accept it and be able to listen to it and listen and talk to people. But when I talked to those people, they looked like they were confused children. Like they didn't have jobs. They were children who had parents' money. They
Yeah.
they didn't really seem like humans to me at that rate. Like they just seemed like they were testing to see how far they can push it.
I just don't understand how you can have how the internet or whoever, and it's even on legitimate like LGBTQ websites. There's approved. I looked at 5 different websites. I was like, there's got to be a variation. Nope. There's a very general approved list. And I thought to myself, how can you have an approved list of pronouns if this is how people express themselves? It should be wide open. I just don't understand.
How many sexualities are there, Luke, now?
Too many.
Too many? It's over 100.
It's 107 genders.
Yeah, genders or whatever. What's it?
I said, what?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. And that was my thing, too. I
That
was like,
number was
"Whoa."
way higher than I expected you were about
No,
to
of
say.
course. It's
It's-
107 genders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot of it is how you.
It's
I
on
mean,
the
it goes.
spectrum.
It does
It's how
go
you
back. It
identify.
does go back to the genderbread man. It really does.
Everything's on the spectrum, and I will respect you for your.
Because you know how many combinations you can get, like on dice, right? If you throw dice, how many combinations can you get? So when you include someone's mind, like the gingerbread, someone's mind, their heart, and their whatever they're working with, or whatever, and then you throw other things in there. Every time you throw something else in there, you get a higher number of combinations.
Oh, it compounds.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's just,
Yeah.
it's this weird, like, dichotomy where people people want to identify a certain way, right? So you identify as they, them, or Zims or whatever, and that makes you stand out. And then at the point that there's 107, sexualities, then it becomes, well, I guess that's the point, right? It becomes, everything has to become normal. Because by having a specific name for every single person, it's almost like impossible to remember and apply every one, which means that those names almost at some point become less relevant, right? Because you've flooded the pool with names, and now I feel like it's the opposite of what was initially trying to be achieved, if that makes sense.
I want to build on this because this is important. I really feel like this is important. I know somebody who's actually been a guest on this podcast before, and this person has a business, and at their business, I was by their business, stopped by to say hi. They had one of their patrons there who was, I'm 48 now. This, what looks like a woman to me and is older than me. This person looks like they have to be in their mid 50s. So there's no, and that comes from that older generation. So there's no, I'm going to assume here. I know the community hates when people assume, but it doesn't look like to me that there's been any gender reassignment surgeries. Looks like a very butch woman in her mid 50s. She was there and she was smoking a cigar. And I said, I walked up. I said, hi, how you guys doing? I said, I heard about the ladies that come here and smoke cigars. I mean, that's pretty cool, because it's more of a masculine thing to do. So, so she corrected me. She said, yeah, that's great. But just so you know, I'm not a lady. Or no, I said girls. I see a bunch of girls, ladies smoking cigars. She said, I'm not a girl. And I thought when she said, I'm not a girl, she corrected me. I said, okay, she's older than me. She's a woman. She has gray hair, a really short, haircut, boy haircut, very butch. What looked to me like a female. And she corrected me. I said, okay, sorry, woman. I thought she was doing the age thing on me. And she said, no, I'm non-binary. And I said, okay, my fault. I said, okay, my fault. Right then, this is the twist for me. I'm okay with this so far. Okay, my bad, whatever. One of the other girls who comes there, they have like a group thing they do and all that. One of the other girls walks up, and she's a younger female who's like early 20s. And she comes up and she says, hi, sir, to me. And that girl didn't say anything to her. So it's like, for us, it's so easy to say, yeah, that's a man. We're a sir. We're in this thing. But when we say something to somebody that they're not comfortable with, they get defensive or they correct us. I'm not going to say she was rude. I'm not going to say that. I don't think she was rude. But I just feel like there's like going kind of with what everything, with everything we're talking about. I feel like if we keep having those things, back to the two people that had the dog that they said was gay, and then showing up with the wheelchair and just saying, not injured, but saying that's just what I got to do today. And then having these conversations where, don't call me this, I'm this. It just creates a lot of confusion. And sure, I know people on that side that say, well, you just need to pay attention and learn, and then you can make adjustments and communicate with us better. But it also adds this level of, I don't want to use the term, I'll use the term confusion. It adds a level of confusion. So if I did that in any other situation, and I just confused people around me at work, my neighbors, people are not going to want to talk to me. So it's almost like it makes it hard for these people to integrate in with society when they're throwing these shots when there's no need for it. Like, hey, I think we can find another way to communicate with each other and exist with each other without but I understand it's new. A lot of this is new and we're still trying to figure this out. I understand that as well.
I
Does that make sense?
Yes. Give me 5 seconds to think on that statement.
Yeah, I know it was long.
It's okay. The only thing I have to say towards that is the comment that I made earlier is for us to be okay with everything and free as our society, we have to be comfortable in the uncomfortable. And I think that someone in your shoes and someone in my dad's shoes and your shoes as well is like, you guys are doing your best to be comfortable in the uncomfortable, but these other people aren't. They just expect you to understand it and be uncomfortable the entire time while they are 100% comfortable, and not understanding that you are allowed to have your own opinions and you are allowed to be your own person, and that's okay. And that's where I feel like, as someone in my shoes, I should really definitely say this a lot, is like, our community, like, I'd much rather have someone come up to me and ask me those questions and be comfortable asking those questions towards someone like me, in comparison to the other people who I have talked to and who would, if you mess up their pronouns, they start going and barking at you like you are the worst person in the world, like you just committed mass genocide, like you are a murderer now, just because you accidentally called them the wrong pronouns. And I know that's not 100% what happened in that situation, but it's just...
It kind of feels that way, though, sometimes.
It does.
Yeah.
And that's what's, like, kind of screwing with my brain, is, like, there are people who are trying really freaking hard. Like,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, y'all are running the freaking marathon. Y'all are giving us water, although you look like you're dehydrating. And we've been drowning in the water you're giving us, but we're just going to keep being an ass to you about it, because that's what's cool. I honestly don't know why people are still...
When we first started talking pronouns, and when Luke started bringing up pronouns, like, when the first thing he did was like, I think it was before you even did the demi boy, when you were like, I'm non-binary, or whatever, like, whatever you went to, and it was they there. It was this, like, I can't figure it out. And I told him, I was like, look, I am going to screw this up. I'm going to mess this up. I'm going to do that. I know I've said that earlier in this, but it's like, you got to give people grace.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because there was a time there that you were angry every time someone messed it up.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was that, hey, people are going to mess this up. This is not normal. Like, it's just, you got to give them grace. And like with what was going on with you, if there's grace on both parts, because both parties are going to be a little bit, oh, I'm sorry. Like, if there's grace, if there's space, if there's something else, I think that there's a way to come together with that. I feel like if they were like, coming back at you for it, that's not right. But or if you were like, oh, I'm not going to do that, that's not right. But if there's a place where it's like it's harmful to them and they feel like they should say something about it, that there's a way to say that with grace and space, and say, actually, I go by he, or I go by I'm non-binary, I don't use whatever, go with they, or whatever. And if that's it, it's like, okay, that's great. And I mean, I think it's that grace and space that's lost with so many people. And it's not just your side, it's not just our side. To Luke's point, he's like, yeah, I'm giving him all the space, all the water, everything else. He's drowning and I'm dehydrating. And then there's the other side of it where they're not giving him anything. Mm-hmm. And so it's that mix of the two. And I think it's both parties having the knowledge to be able to hold space, give grace for what's going on in that other person's life. It doesn't mean you have to be okay with it. Doesn't mean you have to be anything else, but being like, okay, yeah, I'll call you they, I'll call you them, I'll call you he, I'll call you she. If it's so offensive to you, let's do that. Or not. And if it's offensive to you, I mean, you got to look at it from their point of view too. So it's a give and take. And I think that there's, from my point earlier, there's so much less give and take in this world. I think there has to be that space for people to be who they're going to be, and for us not to outwardly judge them and demonstratize them, or like set them down or do something else with them. So it's like, yeah, I'm beating the dead horse now, but it is.
Yeah,
grace and space.
and with that particular individual, it's not that they were over the top with it. There's just like, there's this wall that goes up.
Yeah.
Where they're really defensive.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then I say she, I mean, she looks just like a woman. What am I supposed to do? If you're non-binary, I can't call you a boy or a girl?
That's the is or they there stuff, and that's the hard stuff.
Well,
that's why this and that would be good pronouns.
Uh-huh.
To my point exactly.
or just use they. Like I've actually noticed when I'm in a group with Luke's friends, I use the they.
Because
Yeah.
he has
say
no
they,
idea.
because it's like you don't know. They might look like all young ladies. I know Luke's not a lady. They might look like all young boys. Luke's a boy, but I know in the past, like born as a girl. So it's like,
well, back to what you said about grace, because people who are not even in any of these brackets that we're talking about, like just normal. Normal is not the right word. I don't mean any disrespect by that, but just
I don't blame you.
But just people like you and I, we've been. I mean, I've been profiled plenty of times. I don't know how many times I've had a white guy sit next to me, and there's all white people around, and they say some racist shit, and they're looking at me like, you know what I mean? Got that whole like, you know what I mean type vibe, and I'm like, no, I don't know what the fuck you mean. Like,
Exactly.
I don't play that shit. Like, you know, my first daughter's half Native American, my second daughter's half Hispanic, my two boys are half Palestinian. I have, you know, just I'm not that guy. I'm not that dude. Like. But they look at me and they think that. So
It's like me saying I'll go to the other side of the street if I see you walking down the street and I'm walking down the street. And that's...
Or people look at me and they automatically think I'm a Trump supporter. And I'm not. I don't like either fucking candidate, honestly.
I don't fucking like either of them either, and I'm about to be voting.
I'm all about... you ever seen Brewster's Millions?
Not 100%.
It's an old movie with Richard Pryor. He inherited money. And part of the deal with inheriting the money is he had to spend this certain amount of money within like 30 days. Oh. And so he was spending money, you know, and somebody walked up to him on the street in the movie and they said, you should run for politics. Because he was a very outgoing guy. And he's like, yeah, whatever. And he's like, and the guy said, yeah, it costs a lot of money. And he said, what'd you say? He said, yeah, it cost a lot of money to run for politics. And part of the deal with him getting the inheritance is he had to spend all that money. That was part of the deal. Like there was a certain amount of money he had to spend. So he's like, fuck yeah, I'm going to run for politics. But he was like, he didn't want the job. He just wanted to spend all the money on the campaign so that he could get his inheritance if he spent all this money. So his whole slogan was none of the above. Because then he started running for politics, and then he started seeing that the other people he's running with, the other candidates, they're fucking pricks, and they're liars, and they're cheaters, and they don't care about people. So he started to realize he's like, man, these people don't care about anybody. They're pieces of shit. So he started his slogan was none of the above. This guy's a liar. This guy's an asshole, or this guy's arrogant, whatever. And he ended up winning the election because everybody liked how genuine he was. Mm-hmm. And then when he won, he said, okay, I spent all my money. I'm at zero now. Give me my inheritance, which was the bigger pot. And they said, no, man, you won the election. That came with the salary. So you actually have money still. So you don't get... But because he had a good heart, I think the moral of the story was, at the ending of the movie was, I think he still got the money because he was a good person and all that. But it goes back to our candidates now. I'm all with that. None of the above. They all fucking suck.
I agree wholeheartedly. Like they're both.
Yeah, one of them's a liar who lies and lies and lies, and is an arrogant asshole who doesn't give a shit about nobody.
Nobody cares about the money in his pocket.
That shit he did to those Scottish people with his golf course, the people who lived right there, he cut their water supply. It cost literally, after I don't know if it was a couple years or whatever, the one guy, the farmer, he went and dug it up and fixed it himself for like under $500. Trump didn't have that he didn't drop that when he was walking. Like he didn't have it in his pocket. One of his aides probably had that in their pocket. And
actually, I don't know if they did.
And then the Trump, right, touche.
Oh yeah, well, not anymore, maybe.
Then the Trump organization sued him. Like, what are you doing? Like, that's what you're doing? Like Trump doesn't even care about other rich people.
No.
Trump doesn't care about nobody.
I think he cares about not going to jail now.
What was his name?
Yeah, right.
And then Biden needs to be chilling on the back porch, let the smoker go, whatever. I mean, there's some shady shit that he's, that's around him too. But I just think he's not there. I think he needs to just go and just take a nap.
I think he's what the Democratic Party needed to beat Trump. I don't think he's what the Democratic Party needs. And I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I'm independent. And the first time Trump was around, I voted for Trump. And then, I didn't the second time. I couldn't because it's like, oh, I took the blinders off.
I want other options.
Yeah, I do want other options, but
Do we want the princess that was on the ballot last year?
Who's that?
She was just a random princess that was on there. Her name was like Princess something something of some other island that.
Oh,
we
I
don't
didn't
even
see
know.
that.
I was reading it off of his ballot because I was reading it just so I could be educated when I do vote.
we
And
had him
this-
sit through and vote with us just to show how the kind of process went, because
I'm
it's
very
going to happen.
grateful. I'm very grateful I did, but there was like
Yeah, you have to vote. You should vote.
every other
Everybody should
independent.
vote.
Yeah, everybody should get a say in what they want.
Because we're not going to have a true, like, knowledge of what the country really wants if everybody doesn't vote. If one group of people feels like they shouldn't vote for any reason, then the voices aren't going to be heard. Everybody should vote. 100%. But yeah, back on topic. Sorry.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think people label me. Like I said, they see me and they automatically think, oh, he's a Trump supporter. It's like,
I get that a lot.
man.
What was I labeled? What did this person think that I looked like the other day? They looked at me and I was doing my customer service. I was trying to help this customer because they were upset about something about food. I don't know. Look, man, if you're going to start screaming at me because you're convinced your food is poisoned, I'm just going to sit there and go, I am so sorry. I am so
There's
sorry.
nothing you can do for that kind of person.
I am so
Their
sorry.
food is poisoned?
I don't, dude.
Oh yeah. Well, you're always
People
going to
are
have
crazy.
You're going to have that you're going to have those people for sure.
I can offer you a free meal for next time, but if your food was truly poisoned, why would you want to eat here again?
Yeah.
But I was talking to this person, and when I'm talking to customers, it's not me talking like this. It's, oh my God, are you okay? I'm so sorry. How else can I help you? Like, it goes higher. I'm more. Someone asked me if they looked at me and they were like, are you like a drag queen? Are you like one of those sissy girl boys? Like, and I looked at them and I went, whoa, okay. That's interesting. Haven't heard that one before. Like, I've heard farm boy. I've heard a lot of different things, but I've never heard someone ask me, like, are you like a sissy boy? And I was like, is that a thing? Like, in all honesty, are we just like so stuck in our little worlds of like putting people in these little boxes that we now have a specific one for feminine boys?
This was my thought. You were saying earlier that like we're very isolated, but at the same time we're not. We're getting bombarded with information constantly, but we're not having conversations with people about it. So we don't have an outlet. We don't actually know how to talk about it. So I used to work retail, and I would have people. I work security, and I would have people. They just love to yell at me, right? Because I had to get in their face. It was my job, and people would say the wildest stuff to me. Like, just with no context at all, but they would say it to me, and I sometimes think like, yeah, they were probably at home last night, like on their Instagram feed, and they were looking at all this crazy shit. And then I'm the first person they've talked to, and now they're just incorporating it into their speech or trying to figure out how to have that conversation. And it just comes out because they don't talk to anybody. They just sit at home scrolling on their phone, and that's what, unfortunately, too many of us
That's
do.
that's their vocabulary. That's their
because
that's their social skills.
whether they meant to or not, the algorithm threw this thing at them 45 times last night, and now it's stuck in their head. And the first person they talk to, it just comes out.
Yeah, I tell my kids, I say, if you don't know what to do, you know what you do? Don't do nothing.
You just sit there quietly.
Just think. Take a second to think. You don't have to do something. Because somebody's coming to you and they want something, you can just tell them, hold on, give me a minute. Or hold on, I'll answer you. Give me a second to think. Or hold on, give me a second. Or you don't have to react immediately.
We had that conversation on the way over here. I was like, Luke, like, take your time, take a breath. It'll keep you relaxed. It'll keep you calm. Because I know neither one of us have done either of this.
Oh, you guys are
Taking my
doing
own stuff.
great, man.
Yeah, and I was just like, take your time.
I
If you
think
need
he
a
was
second.
mainly talking to himself
I
because
was.
I'm very
Oh,
confident, and my mom likes to call me a cocky SOB.
Oh, you're-
because I
That's
am.
all right.
no, podcasts are easy. That's what I love about this. They're conversations. I love
Yeah.
it. It's not.
Conversation with something sticking right in front of your mouth. But yeah,
Oh
you
yeah.
get the mic.
And
I
the
might
headphones.
accidentally lick it a few times. I think I did. I keep booping my nose on it and like resting my head.
We'll
It's
tell the
okay.
next guest. Yeah.
I'll just
We'll
lick
clean
it for
it.
them.
We'll clean it. You
Well,
guys-
and I think to your point from earlier, like back when we were talking about how many genders there are, like the 107 and like that type of thing. I think I think people want to fit in, and they also want to be unique. Whether this is good, bad, and different. Like, I'm not saying that this is wrong. I'm not saying that this is like something else, but it's the same type of thing. They see it somewhere. They want to be something. Oh, but I want to be just a little bit different. And then that doesn't quite define me. And it's like they're looking to be defined because they haven't been able to look inward and figure themselves out. So it's like there's so many different things, and they're trying to sort it out. Like, I think that's why there's so many of them. Like, and I could be totally wrong with it. Like, I've been a guy all my life, but it's also like there's a good and a bad side to that. There's the I just want to fit in. No, I want to be a little bit different, or I just want to know what I am, and this needs to and a definition would help me with that. So it's like, I'm not trying to say this is bad or good, but I think that that's kind of where that stems from. Is they say, oh, non-binary, or no, I'm not non-binary. I'm one step different. I'm demi-boy, or what, however that goes, or demi-girl. Yeah, and it's. I think it's a.
I do have something to add to that. Is why, because it seems like it's mainly my generation that is trying to find that box, that label of definition. When my mom, her biggest like thing she likes to ask me about is, why do you have to put yourself in a box? Why do we have to put ourselves in boxes? Why do we have to give ourselves labels? Okay, yeah. But, like, because my mom, when we talk, because we talk a lot about this stuff, like, a lot. It's weird. Her biggest thing is to me, why do you want to be labeled? If I were labeled when I were your age, I'd be put into this horrible tiny box because I was a farm girl. I was raised on this tiny little farm. I was supposed to be this hardworking, like, next straight A student, and I did not like that. I did not want to be labeled. I didn't want to be pushed into a box. Why do you guys want to be pushed in a box? And my answer to that is I have no idea, in all honesty. After trying to label myself for years and trying to put myself into a box and trying to like fit somewhere, I think there's a point where I don't think anybody should be shoved into a box and fit under just one label, and that every single label is fluid, like the genderbread person. Like, everything is not just as is.
Well, and it transitioned with you transitioning in life. It changed with the way when you grew up, when you knew more about yourself. You were searching for that definition, and other people searching for those definitions, looking for what type of person you want to become. Like, and I mean, you could put this down to, I want to be a good person, a bad person, a rich person, a poor person, whatever. Like, you put those labels on you. But I think with like the transgender stuff, like, you're trying to figure yourself out, and there's those boxes, and you're trying to say, does this one fit? Does this one not fit? And to your mom's point, why do you have to be in a box? But also, you want to know.
Mm-hmm.
But my generation did that heavy. We had the stoners,
Mm-hmm.
the skateboarders, the jocks, the preppies, the
yeah.
nerds.
Mm-hmm.
We had the rockers, the they call them the headbangers.
The guys wearing Jinkos or whatever. Yeah.
Jinkos.
Skaters.
Yeah, but I think
The worst pants.
But
do you think when it comes to sex, it's a little more taboo because we're talking sex now? That's something that's historically supposed to be private, and now we're bringing out sexual labels. This isn't a societal label of, okay, that's a you know, a preppy person or a skater or this or that, or a jock or a nerd. You know, we're saying, okay, now we're bringing social names to sexual things. That's a little more sensitive, I think, for people.
I think it is, and I think that's why a lot of people are a lot more different about it, to say the best words. Like, the labels towards, like, oh, this is what I identify as. Like, oh, I identify as, like, a cowboy. I'm like, yee-haw, yippee-ki-yay. Like, I think it's just a little bit different aspect than what the labels were when you were a kid, because now it's sexualized and a little bit more emotional and a little bit more heated, I think.
And a lot of parents, they're sending their children to schools where this is like, it's out there now. Now
Mm-hmm.
this is more of a normal conversation. The schools are having these conversations. The kids in school are having these conversations. Society's having these conversations. And parents are trying to protect their kids and saying, hey, this is something that we deal with as a family. This is more of a private thing. I don't know. I guess I'm making sort of a statement, but it's more of a question. Like, Do you think that is possible too? What do you guys think? I mean, not just Luke, but also.
No, I think that it definitely is something that is private, but it's also something that's out there in the world. I think it's something that has changed. It's how people are defining themselves now. I also, when I was listening in earlier on this, like it makes me think about like who came over and founded this country. Like the people, they weren't very open. They didn't want taxation. They didn't want like a king over them. They didn't want all this other stuff, but they were very firm and set in their ways, like sexually and others and those type of things, and not very, I think it's not Protestant, whatever I'm trying to think of, but they weren't very open in that realm. And I think that's an underlining current in our country that has kept it to where it's like this is now taboo, and because it's taboo, it makes it more out there in the world. It makes it harder, where being somewhere else in the world where it's not taboo, where you don't have that underlining part, it wouldn't be such a big thing. But then the U.S. being as big as it is in the world and a world leader, then that trickles down to other areas and other countries and other places.
Yeah.
But I really do think that there's that underlining current that kind of keeps people from wanting to talk about it. Not that it's not there, because I think it's always been there, but I think it keeps it, it's like, oh, it's taboo, you shouldn't talk about that. And I think we're coming to a point in the world where it's like, it's not taboo, it's there, let's talk about it.
It's always been taboo. Like, sorry to cut you off, Michael, but brothels.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those are kind of like, well, that's kind of been a taboo. And when people have sex, they go to a room, they kind of do it alone, but in private. Mm-hmm. You know, well, I know there's parties and stuff out there.
I know. I'm just shaking.
Or when you go to other
thinking
countries
about
and
it.
you see on TV, they're going to show women topless or something else. And in the U.S., like you can't show a topless woman on TV.
Right.
Like
Without
there's
it being TVMA.
Yeah.
Right.
No, yeah.
Yeah,
So I think it's different in different countries. Sorry.
Yeah, I agree. No, really, those are my thoughts exactly. That the U.S. just has a long-standing, more conservative view on sexuality. So just broaching that topic is a lot more difficult or sensitive. And then also back to, we talked about, you know, there was labels when we were in high school and whatever. But again, those labels are, if I'm a greaser, right? I got my hair slicked back and I got a leather jacket. If I change schools the next day, I can wear a popped collar, a pink polo with a popped collar, and I'm now a prep. And this dilemma is much more deep rooted than that, because you can't just walk into another room be the thing you want to be.
I mean, the question is,
in other people's eyes, I guess. The difference is perception, right?
Yeah.
If I changed my clothes and went to another school and someone just visually saw me, they would say, okay, that guy's a prep. I'm no longer a greaser. But in this case, it seems much more difficult to do so.
I can see where everybody's coming from. Like, I didn't think about it. Like, when we came here, we were when we stole the land here is what I'm genuinely going to say as something I believe in my heart and my soul is we came here. We were like, this is our land now.
Oh, for sure. 100%.
Yeah, that happened.
Yeah. Native Americans.
Yeah.
Oh my God. There's still a lot of things going on with that. That's a lot to unpack.
That's another rabbit hole.
That is another rabbit hole. But I think the thought of like, we're just very judgmental of people also as well. Why can't we just be human to human? Like, why do we need to have pronouns? Why do we have this sense of need to be a male or female or other? Why, in all honesty, why? Like, there is, in my very short time on this earth, I honestly I've never seen a true reason that we have to have a male role, a female role. Like, why do we have to have this other role? Why do we have to have these pronouns? Why is there male and female? Is it just because of reproduction? Because that's the only thing that I can think of. Like, why?
As a biological base, yeah, it is reproduction. I mean, that's the way the animal world is.
Yeah, but that's...
And we are animals, just a step up.
Yeah, there's something like there's definitely something biological, I think, with humans. If there were no sexual organs, we were all the same gender, we were all the same skin color, but we all had different size ears, I'm sure would separate each other into groups based on the size of our ears. So there's something in our DNA that just makes us do that. But I think the hard part is to fight against that, which is what are attempting to do.
There's also religion, right? Like there are people who are Jewish, Christian, Muslim, other religions who feel like this could be a threat. There are sports, right? A lot of people feel like in sports it's a threat. So this just kind of compounds with these in sports.
Well, sports
or in religion.
In religion, how?
Oh,
That
because if I can tell you right
Please
away.
help.
So in religion, it's pretty obvious to me, at least, that the threat is that the beliefs that at least those three, the three monotheistic religions that I just named, and there's other religions as well that I didn't name, that the beliefs in those religions do not agree with, obviously gay.
But where?
Huh?
But where?
But where what?
Where doesn't it believe in gay? Where doesn't it believe in the trans? Like, in all honesty, when I was reading these books, because I wanted to do a deep dive of research, the only places I found against these stuff is in the newer versions of these books, and like the things in the big religion beliefs of all these things is only in the newer stuff. When you go back into like the older times, they didn't mention gay people, they didn't mention trans people, they were just kind of there.
Well, yeah, gay people have always been a part of society. 100%, I agree with you. But I mean, I don't want to get into a long religious debate with you.
No, it's okay.
But I mean, in the Bible, obviously, and in the book of Lot and Lut, depending on how you pronounce it, that's in the Old Testament, and that's when God flipped over the earth and destroyed the city of Lut and all that. And then in Islam, there's a lot of stuff that talks about against homosexuality and how it's a sin. Christianity speaks about that, and so does Judaism. So I mean, that's what I'm saying.
Well, is it my question for that? Like back to you, because I haven't done all the research into it. I'll be honest about that. Where I think the root of all those monotheistic like religions is being a good person, like loving thy neighbor, and those like I grew up very deep in the Christian community, and I'm very spiritual now. I'm not religious because I think people fuck it up, and I think people fucked it up. Like,
sure, anytime. Yeah. I'm not talking. No, yeah, well, what I'm saying is that
I just think the root of the religions isn't against being lesbian, LGBTQ, or anything else. I think that the interpretations through the years and the way that they've come to pass and the way that people have interpreted them, I think that has made them feel that way or think that way because of it. Because I haven't seen anything, and I could be very wrong. You could find something that's like, we don't like gay people in there and show it to me. I haven't seen it. And whenever I talk about it, it's always in this, whenever I hear about it from other people, it's always in this kind of out there thing. And no one ever says, this is first chapter where it is.
There actually is one.
Okay.
It says, man shall not lie with man in the Christian Bible. I don't know what it's called 100%.
Probably. I mean, there's a lot of passages.
There's a lot of passages that blatantly say,
them.
man shall not lie with man. And the reason I asked where does it say that in the older testaments is because when those were transcribed into our languages, in the language we're speaking now, it was, from what the research I've done, in like what I've heard and what I've seen and how I've like done it, we didn't know 100% what they were saying besides you should care for everybody around you, like my dad's saying. And it was like, in the research I've done, most of the things said man shall not lie with boy in referring to pedophilia.
So my reason for let me repeat my question. I don't want to debate religion. My question is the people that are religious that feel that way, and also the people that feel that transgenders coming into sports, like for example, a male transitioning to a female and going to a female sport, which is pretty much the only threat, because a female transitioning to a male is very hard to compete against males in most sports. Physical sports, I'll say.
I
Yeah.
have tackled a couple of quarterbacks in
Sure.
my day and
Sure.
beaten a couple of guys
Sure.
in my day before
Sure,
testosterone.
but not like in the NFL.
Oh, no.
Right.
I'm not going to
and
lie.
like college football and stuff like that. Those guys are like built like your dad over here.
No, are you? Come on.
Yeah.
Fair,
I'm a little
fair.
sucked up these days, but
I haven't gone to the gym a lot recently.
but
yeah.
that was my question.
Yeah.
So, because going back to how we can start learning to live with each other, when a lot of people that are religious, there's that conversation, right? And then there's the sports issue. I feel like a lot of parents and a lot of athletes, especially a lot of female athletes we've been seeing lately, that are really, really, they're suffering because of these guys that come in. They used to be men, now they're women, and they still have their bone density, still have their lung capacity that is fully developed, which is more than a woman's. And they come in and they're able to dominate women. And there are, and the argument is on the other side, back the other way, there are a lot of men who transition to women who go into women's sports and they lose as well. That happens as well because there's some badass women out there that you can't
awesome.
you can't get them.
Women are amazing and very, very attractive. But
Said it a couple times.
very. I have to reiterate that.
And I'm not asking you to solve the issue or
There's
have
a lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
And I have no idea how we'd solve that. The only thing I could think about is like, from what I've heard, is it's very few and far between transgender females actually want to compete in those high enough sports. And those few who do have to go through already the biasness of all the people around them, all of like the people being concerned for it. But how many people actually do, how many like transgender females are actually in those?
Well, first, there's not a lot of transgender females, right? We talked about this earlier.
Yes.
Like compared to the rest of society, then you have to be an extreme athlete to compete at those.
And 20 years ago, we would have never heard about it.
Right. Well, I guess not. You could.
You know what I mean? So I think that one of the things,
Yeah.
and especially with the on the athletic side, like I'm kind of in the middle on the athletic side with it. Like I can understand that, and I think that there needs to be some sort of regulation or something in place because someone that goes, "Oh, I'm male, now I'm female, I'm going to go compete in powerlifting, and I haven't gone through any transition or anything else. I just feel like a female." I'm like, that's not right. But you don't. It has happened. It also doesn't happen a lot, like what Luke was saying. I think that we're seeing it when it does happen now. I think we're seeing it a lot more when it does happen. But I also feel like I don't think we need to regulate to the nth degree when something like doesn't happen super often. But we also need to acknowledge it and have a plan for it too. Maybe not regulate it. So like when I'm thinking about it is like when someone's transitioning or someone's doing that, like things actually do change. Yes, you don't lose your bone density. Yes, there's some other things there, but there's a lot of other things that do change. Your muscles change, your other things. There's a lot of that. So I believe in the UCI for transgender male, females, that type of thing, they actually check your testosterone for like biking in certain sports and other stuff. I believe biking's one of them, where if you're transitioning, then they actually do check your testosterone levels. And if you're above a certain level, you can't compete with the women. I'm not saying this is like the be all end all or whatever, but when that happens, it's like, and that actually puts them it puts them behind the other women, because those other women that aren't being checked, that are natural born women, like.
But where's that level?
I don't know what that level is, and I'm just saying that. But that's
the
just one of the
argument
ways
that
they do
I've
it.
heard is the tendons strength, bone density. Lung capacity was a big one because males have much bigger lungs, and if you transition from a male to a female, especially if you're older, then when your lungs are fully developed, then you have that over the female competitors.
I was having this conversation with a friend of mine, and he threw this out there. What about a third category, an open category?
I've been saying that, and that's kind of where I was going.
I don't like it personally, but I heard about it. That's why I brought it up.
Well, what I wanted to point out, right, is I feel like there's some hypocritical things that everybody's doing. on one hand, we have 107 genders, right?
Talk about that.
That's a lot.
But we only have 2 genders for sports. So why not have an open category?
I'm not against it. I'm also not for it. Just because.
Then you could get men that go in there. But then you could do it by weight. You could do it by.
Which when I wrestled back in the day, it was by weight only. In middle school, like I wrestled women. I mean, but a woman in my weight class, I got to roll off the mat. It wasn't fun.
It was horrifying.
But the trans community would have to they would have to weigh in on this. They would, because obviously they're the ones that are most affected by this conversation, this type of conversation.
I'm not gonna lie to you.
We're the cis males, we're just.
Yeah.
Of course, we're doing what cis males do right now.
Dominate
Taking
the
over.
conversation.
Yeah, we're doing that, aren't we?
Yeah, we know how to fix it.
Sure.
I don't.
Oh fuck. There is so much to unpack with getting a third. Like having a possibility.
There is, because then if it's open, then the baddest, fucking most vicious monster, whether it's male or female, could go in there and be like, yeah, I'm gonna dominate this shit, and then nobody has a chance anyway still.
Yeah, but I also have to take a moment, remember the third party system, and remind you that it took me a year to get at a baseline baby itty bitty baby. I'm currently at a 13-year-old level of male testosterone in my body after being on testosterone for a year and a half. And for it to go the other direction, you have to be on female replacement therapy for 5 years to even be in a feminine range. And even then you have to be doing injections plus pills plus 5 times more than what I have to do wanting to become a man.
That hasn't been happening though in a lot of these cases.
Yeah, and that's why I'm
I think that's the issue.
I think that's where the issue lies, is if someone is truly transgender female, the amount of crap that those ladies have to go through. I met a couple in my life, oh my god, they won trying to even transition and get that feminine voice. You have to go through a surgery to get your voice that's no longer deeper because of that. You have to be. There's not even injections because it's not. You have to take pills daily. You have to also add 80 other things, and even then you don't get boobs. Even then it is 80 times worse than it is for me to be a male. Then it is.
It's also it's also the part of the community that gets the finger pointed at and talked about the worst, because especially if it was me, if I was transitioning to a woman, you're oh, you're at the top of the pyramid, you're the top of the whatever, you're a cis white male, that's what everything is made for you, and now you want to go be a woman.
Exactly.
And I'm not trying to say that to demonstrate women, but it's just the way our society is, and it's an innate thing that I think people, even in the LGBTQ community, that looks at, and I've heard this and talking with people, it's there's a lot of discrimination against males going to females. There's a lot inside the community as well, from what I've seen and heard. Just because it's that's the Luke's at one level and they're the next level down.
They are more than the next level down. In all honesty,
what does that mean? I don't understand.
So the amount of discrimination for just transgender people as a whole is that
discrimination within the transgender community,
within the minority group. Let's just put it at that.
Within the LGBTQ community, because everybody has their
opinions.
Just like we have our opinions, or someone else does, or that skinhead doesn't like the whatever, and those type of things. Everybody, not everybody, but you have those opinions on someone, or it's you hate someone more than someone else.
It's why we had to change to Gender Sexuality Alliance, because of all the hate within the LGBTQ community. Because the sexuality.
Why do they join under the same banner if there's so much?
I'm not gonna lie to you.
It's very confusing.
It is confusing, especially because we're not in it, but I've seen it.
It is.
It seems confusing to you as well.
I have spent probably 5 years trying to figure out why there is hate even in the frickin' world, but let alone in a group that is now being grouped between more group of a bigger mass class of a group.
Yeah, I've known mixed guys that were half Chinese, half white, or half Hispanic, half white, or Hispanic and black, or and they're racist against other races, and I'm I'm like, you're mixed. You're like the very thing that should not be racist.
Exactly.
But it still happens.
Yeah,
Like,
it's weird.
I'm
I'm like, you would think that would solve the problem.
my friend,
Like people mixing races.
my friend who is mixed race, her favorite comment to me is, "Oh, it's a cis white male right there," because she's gay. She's like on the spectrum of LGBTQ. She is a gender fluid person.
Is she part white?
Yeah,
Okay.
but she looks just black. Like she looks like a normal, but her mom is white and her dad is black, and she looks like just a black person. But her favorite comment of all time is, "Oh, it's just because he's cis and white."
I think it goes back how they were raised. It does. We talked about this earlier. Yeah.
And I think it's
Yeah.
just
Because we teach our kids, you're like our boys right now. We tell them, you're not 50% this, 50% white, 50% Palestinian. You're 100% Palestinian, and you're also 100% Scottish. And you're also, everybody else is just the same as you and respect all other people. Like my wife is amazing. She constantly teaches them every day, all day. She's an amazing woman. But it's what we keep repeating to them that just makes the difference.
I think it comes down back to that like grace that I was talking about, and how when like we started talking about the pronouns and the other stuff, when we started getting into that, like it was giving that space, it was giving that reality to it, and saying you got to give other people grace and space, and it's the same type of thing you're talking about here. It's just in a different situation.
Yeah, respect
Like,
for everything.
You're going to have respect for those people. I respect you, and when I mess up, because I'm going to mess up, it's okay. Like if it hurts you, let me know. But it's like you got to give a little space, give a
Can
little
we
grace.
use the golden rule again, guys?
What's the golden rule?
Treat others how you want to be treated.
All right.
That is what we were taught in kindergarten through like 5th grade. And
Yeah.
then recently, in all honesty, it's like, oh, we're going to throw that in the trash bag. That is going down the toilet. That doesn't exist.
And that's why I
anymore.
brought up those things about like religion and sports. And one other thing it's kind of in the same bracket is like bathrooms, right? When people in society feel like their things are getting threatened, right? They're worried, their religion is going to, whatever, because there's been, gay churches that opened up, or there's been gay mosques that were, I think there's a gay mosque in Canada that opened up.
We have a gay church in Fort Collins.
Yeah.
There's one in Denver too.
And
There's
then
a few in Denver.
those organizations, that's a threat to their beliefs, right? Which I understand. I mean, and then the sports, that's a threat to some people. Feel threatened that this male is going to transition to a female and come in there and dominate the females. And with the bathrooms, people are worried, right? This person used to be a man, now they're a woman, maybe. Who knows? Nobody like wears a billboard of where they're at on their transition. Do they still have their parts? Do they don't? Are they worried their 5-year-old daughter's still in there with someone who still has a penis? Or that's where society starts to get uncomfortable.
I understand where they get uncomfortable, but also I'm just going to the bathroom to take a piss. I'm not going.
Sure.
I understand there is creepy people in the bathroom. I understand completely. I've been to a few bathrooms where it's creepy, but also in the same breath, most people are just going to the bathroom to take a shit, go take a piss. They're just trying to go let something out of their body, as it is a human bodily function.
So I assume you use, which bathroom do you use?
Gender neutral bathrooms. If not, I just try not to go to the bathroom. But if I'm on a road
Well,
trip,
that's
I'll use
bad.
the
That
men's.
sucks for you too.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I went into the guys' bathroom a few times at school just because I was like, the females' bathroom, it looks smoky and gross. I don't want to go where there's smoke. I'm just going to go take a piss in the guys' bathroom real quick. And I walked in there, and the first thing that someone did was try to shove me into the bathroom and beat the shit out of me.
What? Say that again?
The first thing that happened when I walked into the guys' bathroom at school, because I didn't want to go to the females, and the gender-neutral bathrooms were
Gotcha. I didn't hear that first part at school.
getting used and abused. Not in good ways. I just wanted to go pee. Like, I was about to pee my pants. The first thing I did when I walked into that guy's
Well,
bathroom.
the boys know that you were born a
I have
girl.
no idea. My God, I couldn't tell you. I don't know if they know. I couldn't tell you. All I know is I had headphones on like this, head down. I was like, okay, I'm just going to the bathroom. I'm going to the first stall. I'm going to the first stall. That's the only thing on my brain.
Right.
And I got shoved into that bathroom, and they tried to beat the crap out of me.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was because I looked like a girl. I don't know anything. All I know is I was starting to hear slurs everywhere, and I just had to freaking get out of there.
Sure.
And all I was trying to do was to go take a piss.
Sure.
I literally ended up having to hold my pee until I went home.
Well, see, these are the obstacles we're trying to
Yeah.
overcome as a society, right? And trying to figure out. And I feel like a lot of things have been pushed and without a plan.
Mm-hmm. And I feel like there is definitely, we need to come up with something, because at this rate, I just need to go pee, man. Just let me pee in peace. I'm coming in here to take a piss.
Yeah,
Like,
I think to Luke's point, it's like it's very, and I think Denver's doing a lot of things where they have the neutral bath, especially if you have one or two bathrooms, they're neutral bathrooms, and it's for both. Like, great. But it's also like there are those creepers out there, and
Right.
And
Even with straight get people.
yeah, it doesn't matter. Like
Yeah.
it's that's not trans, that's not something else, and it's kind of interesting to me because like my hockey rink where I go play hockey now, it's not the locker rooms. They have a female only locker room for only females, but then all the other locker rooms are both. And when you go to the bathrooms, there's no longer urinals; they're all stalls.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no one standing out
They
there with
can
their wang
lock,
hanging
right?
out. What's that? Yes, they
can
lock.
Okay, then I'm
And
good.
then the showers, instead of being like the bulk showers, which I'm used to in the past, now they're individual showers with their own screen on them. So it's like they're not a locking shower, but it's like they're as segregated as they can be in the same area, so that you're not standing next to. So there's not. And I don't know how I'm actually kind of curious how you would feel about that, because like, does that work? But I mean, that's a hockey locker room.
I'm not gonna lie to you, but that's also because I don't like going after the experiences I've had, and I know a lot of trans people have had. We refuse to go to the bathroom in public now, like, and that's because creepers. That's because people are disgusting, and public bathrooms are gross.
Well, I feel like that's your opinion.
That's
right?
my opinion,
Yeah.
but in all honesty, if I was taking out my opinion and just kind of like looking at it,
Right.
that's awesome. Like, respectfully, that is that is dope. That they are.
But there's so many things that
There's
affect
so many things
all
that
of
can go
this
wrong, but,
culture,
Oh, there
religion, everything. It's just
Like-
yeah.
Cool. I like your hockey arena already, but I don't know how to feel about the fact that there's a female-only bathroom while there's no guy-only bathroom, but there's also just an entire locker room. I don't know. It's confusing. but also
I do
good.
like the unisex bathrooms a lot that I see out and about. It makes me feel like, people can do what they need to do.
When you're washing your hands, you don't need to lock a door. But when you're going to the bathroom,
Yeah.
Please lock my door.
there's I've seen some where they have a urinal and a toilet in the whatever.
And women are more vulnerable. I mean,
Oh, agreed.
on average, a woman is 5'5" and of a smaller stature. So she's more vulnerable to anybody who's stronger than her.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
And that I lost all my train of thought. Sorry, it went bye.
That's all right. That's all right.
I think bathrooms are a very touchy subject because, in all honesty, if people weren't pedos and disgusting humans, people should just go to the bathroom to take a piss. I'm going to the bathroom to take a shit. That's all I'm doing at the end of the day. I'm going in there, do my business. I'm fucking leaving. I don't want to see your penis. I don't want to see your boobs. I don't want to see anything. I just want to go pee and leave.
Yeah,
And
relieve
that goes
yourself
back
and go.
to how sex and sexual stuff and our bodies and all of these things should be private. And
Exactly.
that's kind of, goes back to the
Yeah.
different parts of the conversation.
I also think that like your attitude towards using the bathroom is 99% of people's attitudes towards using the bathroom, but yet we go home and watch Law and Order SVU every night and watch a person get murdered and sexually assaulted in a new way every night, and then we go into a bathroom and someone walks in that we don't like quite know how to identify and we freak out. Like I think that's also part of, like you said, part of the society. We're filling our brains with certain things, so we're scared of certain things that do exist, but we think that they happen all around us constantly, which they do to an extent, but we're more
Not
scared of
that
them
much.
than we need to be, I think.
It's like we don't have a big, what is it, like, murderer on our hands right now. Like, yeah, there is murderers out there. There is someone who could become a murderer later on, but that doesn't mean that they're everywhere all the time.
There are
it-
a lot of sex offenders everywhere.
Yeah.
There's those things everywhere.
It
Yeah.
definitely happens. I think my point is just that we do poison our minds, I think, a lot with what we choose to put what we watch at night, what we put online, what we watch online, and that does affect why people, I think a lot of people get so up in arms about some of this stuff. Because I think for a lot of things, if you were to do the research, you would find that the percentages of the things that were, even the topics that we're talking about, like the percentage of transgender people in the US, and like you said, that the percentage of transgender people who are also extreme athletes that can enter competitions, the percentage is much smaller than we probably think, because when we get on our phones, that's what we see. That's the conversation.
Well, I meant to correct myself on that statement I made earlier too, because it's not just at the higher level. I thought about it after I made that statement. It's also
in colleges and high school.
Well, it's also in elementary school, middle school. It's also in the younger
that's a good
leagues as well.
Aren't those unisex anyways? Like,
to a certain extent. Yeah,
all
I
the way
think
through
till
middle
about
school.
No, I don't think in middle school. No,
Well,
that's where you
middle
start to
school,
divide
that's
out.
Yeah.
It's probably about 12, 10,
that's
11.
middle school still.
Yeah, because you were playing
Yeah.
football in middle school, and then you were playing women's volleyball, and then did you try for men's basketball?
I got into men's basketball, and that was it.
Yeah.
And then COVID was kind of shearing me
Yeah.
away from all sports because
Yeah,
I'm a
definitely
little
you're right.
germaphobe.
I think you're right. Middle school. That's when it starts to divide up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like we got divided 8th grade.
Yeah. And then people are doing local community
Yeah.
leagues or school leagues or however it plays out.
But even then, most of them aren't really divided in middle school. But then you get into high school and everybody's like, boys, girls, go. And you're like,
Yeah.
what?
Yeah.
Well, do you want to talk about like what happened with karate?
Sure. I have been in martial arts for
Long time.
Very long time. I don't know. It's been a very long time.
Your second or third sword form now? Second.
I don't know. I know how to use
Third.
swords.
Yeah.
What rank are you right now?
High enough. Green, brown. I'm a brown belt.
Nice.
There you go. So
Nice.
He's kind of been pulled out from it. recently, 'cause-
I'm
personally-
a white belt in jiu-jitsu. I love jiu-jitsu. I don't go enough. My coach is, if he hears this, he knows that's true. But I love it. So I that's awesome. I like that you're in that. You've been in it for 5 years?
more than.
Yeah.
We started 6th grade.
Yeah, I gave you the option. Do you want to go into karate or do you want to do swimming? You pick, and I'll pay for it.
I like that you're not a
Yeah.
black belt. A lot of times you hear young people, they're like, I'm a black belt. And it's like, how did you get a black belt when you're that young?
It takes at least 10 years in the one he's in to become a black belt, at least.
Well,
you could do it quicker, but that's the average.
Yeah, you'd
is
have to
10
be
plus.
there every day. And
Yeah.
Putting in the classes.
Okay, but anyways, moral of the story is I personally pulled myself out of it because of what was going on because I'm trans. Like, we had very few.
So you're not doing it anymore.
I don't know.
You're still signed up. He's still a part of it, but he hasn't been going.
I haven't been going as kind of like I can't mentally hack it. I'm not going to lie. Like, our big grandmaster, I had a one-on-one conversation with him because I was training to be a teacher. Like, I was like, oh yeah, I could teach this, go to college, be still teaching. Like, I was about to pay a lot of money to be a teacher for this martial arts because I'm good at it. I know what I'm doing. Like, I
You
like
to
teaching.
help people. You like to teach. It
Yeah,
was
like-
all up his alley, and it's good morals and everything else.
Like, I like that kind of stuff. I'm in. Teach me. And in the last few tournaments we had, he was like, you have to compete in the girls division now. Although ever since like I came out, I've been competing in the guys division. And I was like, what? Why are we changing it out of nowhere? And it was because one kid who was 12 or 13 was trying to come out as female, not male, one out of all of the dojos. And he had a conversation with his parents. This kid was very weird. I don't
The kid
know.
was born what?
Male.
Okay.
And transitioned to female.
Okay.
And was still trying to figure out their body and all this kind of stuff. And I understand being younger and like dividing it up then, but like also I've been competing with the guys. I'm beating these guys up every time. Like, they're afraid of me when I'd get in the ring.
I would have no
Like-
problem with you competing against men. Good luck to you.
Well, actually, he did
Yeah.
better with the men than the women. The women kicked his ass.
The women scared me. I was in a
They-
corner
they-
crying.
But I'm just saying,
Yeah.
good
But,
luck.
like-
Good luck to you, because
Thanks.
that's a disadvantage.
It is.
Yeah.
But I was placing in there. But when I went to
Sure.
females, I wasn't placing. I was in last place. But I hadn't competed in the guys division and like in the girls division for like
Probably 3 years.
3
4
years, which
yeah.
is a total of like 6 tournaments. Like, I went, why? And I did, and I went in, and I went to go compete. And I not only got my ass handed to me, I could not hold a candle to what these girls were like doing, because they're faster, they are much stronger. Guys pull their punches. Like, they were doing, like, I got a point because someone was this far away from me, like a solid foot. And I was like, wow, that looked cool. Now I'm going to beat your butt. Like, I'm going to destroy you now. But, like...
So you got out of it because of how things were going.
Yes, and I went to go talk to my grandmaster because I was like, I'm learning how to be a sensei here. People are already throwing up hands.
But you wanted to compete with the boys.
I wanted to compete with the men.
And they wouldn't let him. And the thing was, I believe it was the way that it switched, because it went from, and there was a comment I remember you telling me where one of the other senseis was like, if he just wouldn't have told him, it wouldn't have been an issue.
Yeah.
But because he found out, now it's an issue.
Oh,
and
man.
because he was in training, to be a sensei, it became an issue.
Yes.
And it's like,
So how do you feel about disclosure then with things? Because you see these things on the internet where people are like, these women are going out with these men and they're not telling them, and they're like having sex with them, or they're doing oral things, or they're doing sexual activities. And then there's been stories of guys like murdering the woman or committing suicide. It's like, I think you got to get some people's buy-in on this to accept that this is a situation you're getting into. And you have to be open with people. I just my thoughts.
I try to be open with people. Like, my last girlfriend, when we first started talking, and like we were thinking about like getting in a relationship, I have to tell you this. I am transgender. I am biologically female. I identify as a male though, and I am trying to be a male. And she went, oh, okay, cool. It was weird kind of as a whole.
but it was a conversation you had. It's like, I think the issue there is not having the conversation.
Yeah.
Like, if you're going to be intimate with someone, like,
I feel like
that should be something, at least in my personal view, like, that should be something you're probably talking about beforehand.
Just like straight people are talking about a lot of stuff before they get
my
married.
God.
Yeah.
Or
Do you
before
know
they get in
how
the
mu-
relationship.
Whew.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
well, okay, what religion are you? What what are you vegan? A lot of people won't even date each
what do
other.
you want to do in bed before like we've gotten anywhere? Like,
Yeah.
whoa,
There's people that won't date each other if they're both not vegan.
yeah.
They're like, oh, you eat meat? No, I don't.
I don't want to touch you.
I don't want to have kids with you. I don't want to.
Yeah.
This.
I don't know. I think
Yeah.
it is going back to what you said, like, it is what we see on the internet every day. Like, that's
So we
just
agree
what we're
people
seeing.
should be honest with
Yeah.
someone if they're going to be in a relationship
Yeah.
with them.
I feel like everybody is. That's the point. Like,
Not
most
not
should
everybody
be.
is.
or
No,
should
not.
be.
Yeah, not everybody is.
It'd be
Yeah.
just like hiding if you were a murderer. I mean, well, that's kind of an extreme, but hiding, like,
Aren't all murderers hiding it?
Yeah.
or in jail. I don't know.
Yeah, if they're not hiding it, they're caught.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or they're in the government.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Oh,
That was a good one.
conversation just went left.
I don't know. There's just a lot to talk about on all the topics.
Yeah, as far as then the karate, I've never heard, not once, I don't know if anybody else has, I've never heard about a person born male who transitioned to, sorry, wrong. I had that backwards. Someone born female transitioned to male, compete in men's sports, and been a problem. Overall.
It's always backwards.
Well, it's
And-
not that it's backwards. It's that if someone is born a female, they obviously have a smaller structure, genetically, just from the beginning.
Yeah.
Smaller structure. So physically being able to go against. Now I'm talking physical sports. Now chess or something that's not physical. Don't give me that shit. Like there's no gender in that. Like.
No.
Females go against males in chess all day long, and
Yeah.
there's some badass female grandmasters and some badass male grandmasters. I don't know if that's not a gender sport as far as I know.
No.
But I'm talking only physical sports,
Like martial arts and
martial arts,
football,
running, cycling, swimming. Just think Olympics, right? If you can think of just any Olympic sport, good luck to anybody who's born a female transitions to a male and competes in men's sports in any physical sport.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't think we should ban that as a society. I think that's a huge disadvantage. If that person wants to make that decision, they may even have to sign a waiver, because I think in some situations it could be a risk to them.
Yeah.
Because there's some beast out there that it's going to be hard for that person to physically go against. Now, on the other side, when you have someone who's born a male, that's the whole argument. It's not hating on the trans community.
No, and I see where both sides are coming from, and that's why I'm like,
because if it was hating on the trans community, then that argument of born female and then transition to male, that would be also a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not. Everybody I know, anybody out there is like, okay, sure, but good luck. Be careful.
It's almost a double standard, but there is something physical behind it because of, like, and I go back to the body lifting one, like a male transitioning to female with
Like
body
powerlifting?
powerlifting.
Yeah.
Because that did happen. I don't know all the.
It's happened several times. Yeah.
It's like that. That to me is just bad sportsmanship as well.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I wouldn't want to win that way.
Right.
Now,
Right, and you hear stories about people who have broken like multiple women's world
then gone
records,
back.
like 10 women's world records
That have been in
like,
place for
they broke
decades.
them in like 1 year.
They've been
and
in
then-
place for decades.
Yeah.
I take issue with that. Just because it's like that's unsportsmanlike. That's not in the context of what I think that we should be doing for sports. Now, sports are sports. They're fun. They're out there for a reason. I mean, we can talk about this all we want. And I think the issue comes into play when there's opportunity for sports. If there's opportunity for money, if there's opportunity for schooling, if there's opportunity involved there, and a male transitioning to a female who's doing it not for good intentional reasons is then taking from what the females should be getting.
And that's been a lot of the argument.
I think, and that's a really hard subject to broach, because I mean, that's a weeding out of, and there are a few of them. I mean, we see them now because of the way we are so connected. I think we see them a lot more, but I also think that it's like that. That's a really hard one, like, because I don't know what to say about that. Like, I don't think that it's right, but I also, if they are truly becoming a woman and they are well down that path, I think that you should let them. Like, I'm kind of in it, but I don't know where the cutoff, where the other part is.
My take on it is, I think women should have a decision in it. It's probably the most.
I shouldn't be.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be answering that. Like,
And I also feel like the transgender person shouldn't be the one leading that conversation. I feel like the women that it's affecting, they need to say, and they are speaking about it.
So there's a woman because I followed a woman in the downhill world for mountain biking, transitioning male to female, and
And they do have women's divisions in downhill.
yeah, women's divisions in downhill, and she went there. And
Although we've seen some women that smoke us.
oh yeah,
a lot of women can smoke you guys in a lot of
yeah.
things.
Thanks for being honest, Luke.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
No, but it's like that's where, like, before like all the meds and everything else were kicking in, it's like she did better. But then it's like as the transition went down, it's like she's like, I can't keep up. I can't do the same things. And she's like, I know that I'm definitely female, and I'm going through the transition process. And through the process, like, she progressively got worse. She's like, I can't keep up with them anymore. And she was, I think she got on the podium once or twice. Like, it wasn't like, but I mean, not
Wasn't
like,
domination.
No, there wasn't domination, but it's also, they're not in there like the powerlifting where it's like, I'm just going to go
Or
dominate.
there was an
switch back.
MMA fighter.
And they did have the conversations. Like, there was conversations with the women at some point. I don't think it was initial, and I think that's where they screwed up. But then there was conversation around what the women wanted to do. I believe that
But recently there was a powerlifter that joined a women's powerlifting competition, and the women just walked out.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't even compete. They left the transgender female just by themselves.
That was also, I feel like, a little. They were like, "Oh, I'm trans," and then I don't know if they were 100% because they just wanted to compete in that division. But I don't know 100% on that one, because I know that is what was going on with some of like the powerlifting stuff, because it was considered discriminatory to say to somebody, "No, you weren't." Like, it is discriminatory for you guys to say to me, no, you aren't
Yeah.
trans. Like, it is discriminatory. Like,
Yeah.
discrimination at that rate. To
Who's
like,
going
tell
to
someone.
judge that? Who's going to make that? And that's a
That's a scary subject.
well, that's the catching point.
I want the women to lead that
I
conversation.
actually I like that. I think the women should lead that conversation.
Yeah.
I don't want to lead that conversation.
No, I think it's up to them. If they say it's okay, then that's on them.
Mhm.
That's their decision. But if
I
they
like
say
that.
it's not okay, then that's just where I'm at with it. I feel like if I want to become a woman, I feel like
What sport are you going to dominate?
at my age,
Nothing.
Chess.
do they have
Sitting on the couch.
do they have gender? Do they have different genders in food eating competitions?
Yes, they
No.
All right.
As long as you can eat, you're fine.
I just made that up. I don't eat a lot. But yeah, I think it's a great conversation. I want to thank you guys for coming. I think we've been talking a long
We've
time.
been 3 hours later.
Yeah, which is great.
I haven't talked that long about something in a very long time.
How I guess I had one question. It could be a taboo question. You could just look at me and say, "What kind of question is that?" I just wanted to end with, how do you want people to see Luke?
As Luke. That sounds terrible, but that's how I want it. I am a human being, and that's all I want to be seen as. I'm a human being. Yes, I can accomplish good things that are considered great to other people, but I feel like that's just me basically accomplishing life. But, that's for
I'm
my dad
proud of
over
my
there.
son. I'm allowed to be.
Hey,
There's no
My
right or
spotlight.
there's no right or wrong answer. I just I feel like I think that's an important.
I am the entity of Luke at this rate. I want to be seen as a human being. I'd prefer if you didn't see me as a female, but honestly, at the end of the day, whatever you see me as, good for you. I'm Luke.
No, I feel the same way. I want people to see me as Jeremiah,
Yeah. Like,
just for what I am, what I talk about.
exactly.
What do I bring to the table? What's in my mind? What's in my heart? That's what I want people to see me as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like your answer.
You're welcome.
I agree. I want people to see me as Jeremiah.
Thank you. I try very hard.
Hair flip. Come on, let it down.
That's the best I
Well,
can do.
thank you for coming, and
course.
it's an amazing conversation.
Thank you for having us. It's been great.
That was amazing.
Absolutely. Thanks, guys.
All right.